How's it going?
Good evening, everyone. I am a little bit behind this evening because I have so many great stories to bring you. There's a lot going on. There's many different things happening, and I'm excited to talk about all of it with you. Hello, Josie. Hello, two ladies. Hello, Stuart. Thank you all again for joining. Stoked again to have you. As always, we are joined tonight by no one because Dad has both Dip and Dot tonight. Because I had Dot initially, and then she went over and sat by the door and looked very sad and left out. So I decided it was pretty clear that she really wanted to be out there with her dad and her brother. So they're out there, and Andy's going to run errands while we do the show, and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to start by talking about Thomas Sowell because I know you guys love him. So let's get into it here. I have a tweet that I shared last night that was super interesting to see the feedback on. I said, "It never ceases to amaze me how Thomas Sowell tracks with Terry Pratchett." I don't know if you guys have heard of Terry Pratchett. I'm willing to bet that Stuart has since he's over in the UK area. Most Americans have not heard of Terry Pratchett. However, that might be changing because of a TV show called Good Omen featuring David Banner, and I forget who else. But it's a fantastic show. They did it really, really well. It's based on a book that Terry Pratchett wrote with Neil Gaiman, and it's really, truly excellent. And I'm so happy that it's being so well received, because Terry Pratchett was never able to achieve the level of fame in the US that he wanted to. He was super, super famous in the UK. He's a very smart man. We're going to read one of his quotes. It lines up really pretty well with what Thomas Sowell has to say. I said, "It seems unlikely that they ever read one another, but in genuine philosophy, I have observed that enough deep, honest thought seems to bend toward similar conclusions." So this is what Thomas Sowell said. Most of what are called social problems consist of the fact that intellectuals have theories that do not fit the real world. From this, they conclude that it is the real world which is wrong and needs changing. Very similar to what Terry Pratchett said here. People on the side of the people, capital T, capital P, always ended up disappointed in any case. They found that the people tended not to be grateful or appreciative or forward-thinking or obedient. Tell me if this sounds like the American people. The people tended to be small-minded and conservative and not very clever, and were even distrustful of cleverness. And so the children of the revolution were faced with the age-old problem. It wasn't that you had the wrong kind of government, which was obvious, but that you had the wrong kind of people. Now, here I think he was at least partly referring to communism, because one of the things that I noticed with communism was that it would work great if we had the right kind of person. We just don't have the right kind of human beings to make communism work well. Username says, "I've heard Terry Pratchett and his Discworld are fantastic. They are on my to-read list." Awesome. Very happy to hear. I had a lot of people say, "I never heard of Terry Pratchett." That's a great quote. Thomas Sowell, on the other hand, greatest living philosopher. And I said, if you like Sowell, you will love Pratchett, 100%. And Dissolve says, if I've read a ton of Sowell, should I still read Pratchett? Of course, yeah. Of course, because Terry Pratchett isn't like Thomas Sowell. He isn't a philosopher as such. He was a keen student of human nature. He wrote satire and parody. And he basically satirized the entire world in very unserious terms, but with very serious implications. He has very meaningful, very deep characters. He had a character who was an alcoholic who recovered and then went on to make something of his life and have children and, find out what was really important in life. And he had people who were, from various backgrounds, and he would talk about race, and he would talk about gun control and all this other stuff. And he talked about the ruler of the city and all the different ways that politics played a role. Really, really neat. I always recommend people start with the 2 books that function as like a little tiny series. The first one is called Going Postal, which is about running a post office. And the second one is called Making Money, which is about the banking system. So it is fascinating. Good times. Stuart says, "I have met Terry Pratchett on more than one occasion. Used to live in the same town." See, that's what I'm talking about. Amazing. Everyone knows each other over there. Yes. Terry Pratchett's story was short and sad. He did not live very long. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in his 60s, I think, and very early on, he opted for assisted suicide in Switzerland. And I remember watching a documentary about it. It was very sad, but at the same time, I don't know how I would respond to a dementia diagnosis with an Alzheimer's diagnosis, especially in my 60s. That's terribly difficult. I know it's hard. Having worked with people who had it, it's just crazy difficult. Psycho Waves, hello Psycho. Username says, "Even Superman in the Red Sox movie couldn't make communism work. If fictional Superman can't do it, I doubt any real human can." And absolutely, 100%. Hello C, whoever you are. Appreciate your presence. All right, you guys. Like I said, a lot to talk about. My takeaway with that one is go read Terry Pratchett. Excuse me, I don't have heartburn tonight, just hiccups, so hopefully that stays the same. I went to the doctor today and she gave me a few different kind of not homeopathic, but natural solutions for heartburn. And so far today, they seem to be good. C says, "Please hit the like button." Yes, do so. Share with your friends. We really enjoy the conversation. Love chatting with you guys for sure. And I'm going to talk next a little bit about our 2-tier justice system, because you will hear people on the left saying that all crimes have to be punished, and they'll say this specifically in the context of Donald Trump as they're trying to haul him in and indict him for yet another thing. Really ridiculous. Teen who stormed Capitol on January 6th sat in Pence chair, sentenced to prison. Okay? A Georgia man, so this man must have been less than 18 at the January 6th riot, and he is now older than that, Georgia man who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, assaulted an officer, and sat in former Vice President Mike Pence's chair was sentenced Wednesday to 1 year in prison. Bruno Joseph Kua, who was 18 at the time of the riot, was sentenced to 1 year and a day, followed by 3 years of supervised release, much lower than the federal prosecution's request of more than 4.5 years, according to a sentencing memo filed in May. Wow. The now 21-year-old was found guilty of 2 felony charges earlier this year, including obstruction of an official proceeding and assaulting, resisting, interfering with, intimidating, opposing, or impeding officers. So they are absolutely throwing the book at him, and I expect this for every single person who was present at the January 6th, what they like to call the insurrection, what we all know is basically just a gigantic protest that got a little bit rowdy, basically a walking tour of the Capitol by the American citizens. And this is crazy to me that he is receiving 1 year and that they asked for 4.5 years. That's blowing my mind. That's crazy to me. Yes, he should have been calmer about it. He should have been a little bit nicer. But oh my gosh, this is wild, especially when you consider what just happened. So I tweeted out, let me see if we can find this here. I tweeted out, look over there, aliens, because this is also going on right now. I said, quick look over there, aliens. And the Daily Wire has tweeted the DOJ has dropped the campaign finance charge against Sam Bankman-Fried. So that's not all the charges. He still faces something like 7 charges. But like Reuters is quick to point out, this is lessening the trial's political focus now. I wonder why that is. Why do you think they're reducing the focus on politics as far as Sam Bankman-Fried goes? Do you think it has anything to do with this? I sure do. Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX cronies gave $300,000 to House committee members investigating him. Yeah. So you thought the Hunter Biden story was corrupt. This is a different kind of corruption. Absolutely insane to me. This is on the next level. And this guy is such a schlub. He should go to jail just for that as far as I'm concerned. Terry was a real lovely man. Discworld novels. Thank you, Stuart. I appreciate your input. I'm very happy that you had a chance to read him. Meet him. Stevie says, I can never tell if Andy is trolling, so I just assume yes. It is always safe to assume that Andy is trolling. He has a high IQ and a sharp sense of humor, and usually he is being sarcastic / trolling. Andy says of Terry Pratchett, he was way ahead of the curve on the flat earth knowledge. Nice pun there. Thank you, dear. He says, check in, mate. Ball people. If the earth isn't flat, then why is the horizon a straight line? Andy loves to entertain the idea of the flat earth, and I am just amused that he does, because as I'm constantly telling him, we all know, I learned from Terry Pratchett that the earth is 100% a flat disc balanced on the back of 4 elephants who are riding along through space on the back of a giant turtle. Stevie J takes it to the next level and says, I believe in Donut Earth. Yes, that was fun too. I remember us talking about that over on Timcast IRL. Oh, let's see what he tweeted. Let's see what we X'd. Oh gosh. What have we X'd? Oh gosh. The Facebook files prove once and for all that 1, the left can't meme. 2, the left hate memes. And 3, the left are memes. Yeah, I think it's probably that last one, but we will find out more in just a minute. I just want us all to soak in the injustice that is Sam Bankman-Fried getting off on this ridiculous charge, because we know exactly why this is, right? So he donated a bunch of money to the people who were investigating him, nothing to see here. And then suddenly they drop the campaign finance charge, which is, what a coincidence, this is lessening the trial's political focus. Now, I'm not a person who believes that you should judge a book by its cover. I don't think that someone's face can necessarily dictate what their future is going to hold, what their destiny will look like. But I just want to say, look at Sam Bankman-Fried's face. There is a German word for a face badly in need of a smack. And I think that Sam Bankman-Fried fits this nicely. And there is a study of like physical features that tends to kind of try to pretend that it can predict more than it can about how someone's life is going to go. And I won't go that far, but this is definitely the face of someone who knows that he's going to get away with it. And he's really not worried. He's not troubled by this at all. And we know that he's not behaving. We know that he's not complying with a lot of this stuff. We know that he leaked some of his ex-girlfriend's messages to the Washington Post, I think. In fact, let's look that story up real fast, because I thought that was super interesting. Didn't have a chance to look at it. Bankman-Fried. I cannot believe his name is Bankman-Fried. Ex-girlfriend leaked. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, he got a gag order. Gag. Like a big. Slapped with a gag order after leaking ex-girlfriend and star prosecution witnesses' love letters to the New York Times, and could be jailed ahead of the trial. Do we really think he's going to be jailed ahead of this trial? I certainly don't. Absolutely don't. I think they're going to bend over backward for him, just like they have to get rid of this charge. But let's read a little bit here. Sam Bankman-Fried could be slapped with a gag order ahead of his October trial. The FTX co-founder is accused of trying to discredit Caroline Ellison's testimony. He's facing over 100 years behind bars for charges related to the FTX collapse. Wow. That is pretty serious. I am curious what they end up charging him with, because he does seem confident. We'll see. We'll see. The messages, which were leaked from a 2022 Google Drive, saw Ellison journal about her struggles as CEO of Alameda Research, the hedge fund arm of FTX. She described being racked with self-doubt over her decision-making, with one message reading, "At the end of the day, I can't wait to go home and turn off my phone and have a drink and get away from it all." That kind of makes me feel bad for her. I feel like she was put in a really difficult position. Like, I've seen people be put into positions that they should not have been in, like really overwhelming positions, including some at the tops of companies. And it's just hard to watch them struggle. And I'm just like, man, that's tough. I feel bad for you. I mean, I know you're making bank. That's great. But at the end of the day, if you don't have peace, what is even the point? Like, no amount of money is worth sacrificing your peace for. Seriously. After hearing arguments at the bail hearing, U.S. District Court Judge Lewis Kaplan handed down a gag order and is set to weigh whether to keep him in jail for the next 3 months. Bankman-Fried walked out of court, and his defense is set to make its case by August to decide whether or not he will be jailed pre-trial. I don't think he believes he will be, that's for sure. Bankman-Fried is facing a slew of criminal charges related to the collapse of his cryptocurrency and exchange, FTX, in November. He allegedly misused billions of dollars from investors on lavish gifts and political donations. That's right. To whom? To whom was he making these political donations? Let's do a quick check, because I told someone earlier that he didn't donate to the GOP, but I'm actually not sure if that's the case. I would like to be correct. So let's look it up. Who did Sam Bankman friend donate to politic? Oops. Okay. Lawmakers that received maximum donations from Bankman-Fried include Democratic Senators Kristen Gillibrand, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Cory Booker of, so some Republican senators, Lisa Murkowski, and Susan Collins. So the most blue, the squishiest possible Republicans you can find are who he donated to. He only donated to people who were on the leftish side of the aisle. So, good for him, I guess. He gave the maximum donations to these people, and now they're helping him out behind the scenes. So, they did try to claw them back, and I recall Maxine Waters saying, actually, no, we're not going to give the money back. We're just going to keep it, because it's really important. Username for 14.2 says billions, absolutely insane. I'm sure you don't donate to GOP, but good old boys like Mitt Romney or other rhinos. Right. Good prediction. It was Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, the squishiest Republicans who are barely qualified to call themselves Republicans. Probably he would have considered donating to people like Liz Cheney and, yes, Mitt Romney and similar. So, man, this is crazy to me. But Democrats will tell you at the end of the day that there is no two-tier justice system. That's why a young boy from, I forget where it was from, but we were just reading about, a teen who stormed the Capitol, right, on January 6th, sat in Pence's chair, is sentenced to prison. He's going to prison for the maximum amount of time. They tried to put him in jail for the maximum amount of time that they could, which was 4.5 years, but he ended up only getting 1. So that is not fair, because he had no money. He wasn't trying to politically influence anyone. He just made a silly decision and probably did some regrettable stuff. Sam Bankman-Fried is a soy Kevin Spacey, methinks. LOL, my goodness. See, he's not going to get charged either. Kevin Spacey also didn't get charged for his stuff. Andy says, haha, yeah, absolutely. Texas Rangers, hello, lovely to see you as well. Thank you for joining. We're just talking about Sam Bankman-Fried and how he's getting away, not with murder, but with ridiculous money nonsense. Unlike this poor kid who was there at January 6th. He made the sin of being conservative and being present at January 6th. And that, as we know, is the ultimate sin that will get you the maximum amount of punishment possible. Let's read about the Facebook files. We have this comprehensive thread from Jim Jordan. I know you guys recall the Twitter files. That was a lot of fun. 7 hours ago, he says, to be continued. So let's read what he says. He breaks it down. Appreciate Jim. I like Jim Jordan. The Facebook Files, Part 1. Smoking gun docs prove Facebook censored Americans because of Biden White House pressure. Now, this is something that we talked about a while ago. I feel like maybe I didn't give it proper emphasis because it was a huge deal. I remember being outraged by it, but there's only so much force you can put on it because it's like, how much more can you say about it other than the U.S. federal government was actively stepping on the rights and freedoms of actual American citizens. And that's just all you can say because it is wild and crazy and you just can't really hyperbolize more than that. Let's read. Never before released internal documents subpoenaed by the Judiciary Committee prove that Facebook and Instagram censored posts and changed their content moderation policies because of unconstitutional pressure from the Biden White House. That's basically it. That's as good a thesis as you're going to find. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys, but I constantly complain about Instagram because they are currently, I think they're maybe not shadow banning, but they are actively unfollowing people from me because there was a point in time when I was nearly 50,000 followers, which was really fun. I considered myself a meme page. Before I worked for Timcast, I almost never posted pictures of my face. I had people accuse me of being a meme page, and then I just put a picture of my face on there because I'm like, I'm not actually a meme page. I'm just one person who likes this political and cultural stuff, so here I am. But over the course of working, with Timcast and shortly after, I had almost 50,000 followers. But now my account is in trouble, partly because they took some of the memes down that I had posted about Kyle Rittenhouse when all that was going on. They took them down for bullying, which was fascinating to me. And they took them down years after I put them up, which just felt so unbelievably unfair. And this sounds like a result of that policy. During the first half of 2021, social media companies like Facebook faced tremendous pressure from the Biden White House, both publicly and privately. Hello, dear. To crack down. Thank you for fixing my lighting. I was just noticing it's a little too bright. Tremendous pressure from the Biden White House, both publicly and privately, to crack down on alleged misinformation. In April 2021, a Facebook employee circulated an email from Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and COO Sheryl Sandberg, writing, "We are facing continued pressure from external stakeholders, including the Biden White House, to remove posts." Wow. We are facing continued pressure from external stakeholders, including the White House. Wait, the White House is a stakeholder in Facebook to remove more COVID-19 vaccine discouraging content. For example, we recently shared with the White House a list of the top 100 vaccine-related posts on Facebook in the U.S. for the week of 4/5 to 4/11. While authoritative information dominated the list, the White House was concerned that the number 3 post was a vaccine discouraging humorous meme and called on us to delete the meme. That's right. The Biden administration was pressuring Facebook. Andy says he told me to fix light before the show. We did fix it, but then I put it up again so I could do my makeup, and then we just forgot to put it back down. No harm, no foul. Better too much lids than too little. In another April 2021 email, Nick Clegg, Facebook's president for global affairs, informed his team at Facebook that Andy Slavitt, a senior advisor to President Biden, was, quote, outraged that Facebook did not remove a particular post, he says. Just got off hour-long call with Andy Slavitt. There are some pretty serious and sensitive issues we need to address. A summary. He was appreciative of the data we sent through on Friday and confirmed that Rob had said they had never received so much data from us before. Oh, good for you, Facebook, for squashing the First Amendment rights of American citizens. That's so wonderful. It's so nice to see a company working in tandem with the government. I think that's called something that starts with an F. But I personally don't love that word because the left likes to use it all the time. That's actually fascism when companies work hand in hand with the government like this. Andy attended a meeting of misinfo researchers, didn't provide names, organized by Rob on Friday, in which the consensus was that Facebook is a disinformation factory and that YouTube has made significant advances to remove content leading to vaccine hesitancy while we have lagged behind. While appreciative of our emphasis on authoritative vaccine, the principal focus for Andy S. and his team has in the upcoming weeks is to reach the hardest to reach people who have a propensity to consume vaccine hesitant related content and who are not swayed by official/authoritative sources of content. So they're actively working to get into people's minds and change their views on this stuff. That makes my skin crawl. I'm grossed out. Let's continue. Our systems, he believes, are as confirmed by the researchers, feed vaccine hesitant related content to pockets of the population, and that's the problem he wants our help to resolve. So you thinking for yourself is a problem that the Biden administration wants help from Facebook and succeeded in getting to solve. That's right, your critical thinking skills are a problem to solve for the left wing. As an example, he was outraged, not too strong a word to describe his reaction, that we did not remove this post, which was third most highly ranked post in the data we sent to him. Representative Jim Jordan jumps in. What did the Biden White House want removed? A meme. That's right. Even memes were not spared from the Biden White House's censorship efforts. I have to stop here and say that Jim Jordan is a little bit of a boomer here because it makes 100% sense to me that the Biden administration wants to control the flow of memes. Memes are like spice. Whoever controls the memes controls the world. This is something that Richard Dawkins discussed a little bit in The Selfish Gene, although he wasn't speaking in terms of imagery and pictures online as much as other forms of memes, not even ideas as such, but, the idea of biological memes. The Biden administration understands that the key to changing hearts and minds is actual organic memes. And that's why they were so scared of this meme that says, 10 years from now, you will be watching TV and hear, did you or a loved one take the COVID vaccine? You may be entitled, and we can assume that it just says ... and closes the quote. Fascinating. So we can see here 385,000 shares, 19,000 likes. Spicy content. So this activated enough people's almonds that they liked it and shared it enough to put it onto the White House's radar. That should make every single one of us so unbelievably uncomfortable. It's distressing. It really is. When Clegg countered that removing content like that would represent a significant incursion into traditional boundaries of free expression in the U.S., did you mean the First Amendment of the United States Constitution? Slavitt disregarded the warning and the First Amendment. I countered that removing content, let's read this here. I countered removing content like that would represent a significant incursion, blah, blah, blah. He replied that the post was directly comparing COVID vaccines to asbestos poisoning in a way which demonstrably inhibits confidence in COVID vaccines amongst those the Biden administration is trying to reach. So, the Biden administration official here is saying, shut up, I don't care about the First Amendment. This picture, this image that's mocking our efforts to indoctrinate people about a vaccine is the only thing that matters. It's more important that we remove this image from the internet, as if that were even possible. Speaking of boomers, you cannot remove an image from the internet. It's more important to us that we remove this image from Facebook than it is for us to respect the free speech rights of native-born Americans. It would be very helpful if someone could please check whether this content was also available on YouTube. Andy's assumption is that YouTube would never accept something like this. Great. It's so good to see YouTube and Facebook working in tandem to restrict the rights of Americans under pressure from the actual federal government. What happened next? Asked Jim Jordan. Facebook panicked. In another April 2021 email, Brian Rice, Facebook's VP of Public Policy, raised the concern that Slavitt's challenge felt very much like the crossroads for us with a Biden White House in these early days. All that said, his challenge feels very much like crossroads. Yes, indeed it does. But Facebook wanted to repair its relationship with the White House to avoid adverse action. Quote, given what is at stake here, it would also be a good idea if we could regroup and take stock of where we are in our relations with the White House and our internal methods too. Why, Facebook? What are you afraid of happening? What are you afraid of? because a company should not be conspiring with the government to restrict the free speech rights of American citizens. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, it actually is that simple. You don't have to be a legal scholar to figure that one out. This wasn't the first time the Biden White House was angry that Facebook didn't censor more. According to these documents, the Biden White House demanded to know why Facebook had not censored video from Tucker Carlson. So Facebook prepped a response. To appease the White House, talking points were drafted for Clegg. Facebook was ready to tell the White House that it had demoted a video posted by Tucker Carlson by 50% in response to the White House's demands, even though the post didn't violate any policies. Yeah, so they knew what they were doing. Public pressure mounted as well. In July 2021, President Biden publicly denounced Facebook and other social media platforms, claiming they were, quote, killing people by not censoring alleged misinformation. That's right, here's Reuters. Biden says Facebook and others are killing people by carrying COVID misinfo. Yeah, I'm sure you guys remember that. On August 2nd, 2021, Facebook admitted it was going to change its policies because of pressure from the Biden White House. August 2nd, 2021, Facebook's leadership asked Misinfo Policy to brainstorm some additional policy levers we can pull to be more aggressive against misinformation. This is stemming from the continued criticism of our approach from the Biden administration. But it wasn't just the White House. Facebook also changed its policies in direct response to pressure from Biden's Surgeon General, censoring members of the disinformation dozens. Let's see what information we can glean from this too wordy content. Let's see here. This email provides follow-up for our August 6th discussion. During a discussion, we agreed further explore 4 discrete policy options for reducing, discrete as in separate, not as in quiet, although it is very hush-hush, I'm sure, reducing the prevalence of COVID-19 misinformation on our platform. Since then, teams have scoped the requirements for executing these options. As discussed further below, we plan to roll out the first 3 options over the next coming weeks, and we'll roll out the 4th option as an escalation-only policy. Option 1, designate any assets linked to groups, pages, profiles, and accounts which have been removed for COVID misinfo violations as non-recommendable to users. So, guilt by association is the first option. Excuse me. Option 2, count COVID misinformation and harm, misinformation MNH, vaccine widely debunked hoaxes, and COVID repeatedly fact-checked hoaxes toward misinformation repeat offender status. So, very careful thought policing, tone policing, etc. Option 3, demote COVID or vaccine misinformation rated partly false more strongly. So instead of changing their tone and trying to actually find truth and say, yes, this is partially true, but it is partially false, here's what you should know, they're just choosing to censor anything that they find even remotely objectionable. That's great. And then their 4th option, their emergency only, their crisis button, count COVID or vaccine-related URLs that are rated partly false or missing context toward domain repeat offender status, i.e. penalize the URL domains from which the content was shared. Wow. Impact. The Disinfo Dozen report faulted FB for allowing users to share URLs linked to the Disinfo Dozen. Misinfo Policy found that for the most viral Disinfo Dozen URLs rated by third-party fact-checkers, 85% of those ratings were either partly false or missing context. So they're relying very, very heavily on leftist fact checkers, and you see how this ecosystem functions, right? So they rely on the disinformation fact checkers, etc., and they get their cues from the White House and from the Surgeon General, and this is how the game is played. This is why big tech needs to be disbanded. Mr. Bankman, that's obviously the correct version of the Mr. Sandman parody. Oh yeah, that's right. I trust Carter's in the chat because that's exactly what should be written next. Miss Stewart notices this is called the White House because they found snow there. Oh, that's a great point. Hadn't thought about that. These documents and others that were just produced to the committee prove that the Biden administration abused its powers to coerce Facebook into censoring Americans, preventing free and open discourse on issues of critical public importance. Only after the committee announced its intention to hold Mark Zuckerberg in contempt did Facebook produce any internal documents to the committee, including these documents which prove that government pressure was directly responsible for censorship on Facebook. Based on Facebook's newfound commitment to fully cooperate with the committee's investigation, the committee has decided to hold contempt in abeyance for now. To be clear, contempt is still on the table and will be used if Facebook fails to cooperate in full. To be continued. That was 7 hours ago. I hope that Jim Jordan has more for us soon. And Stephen Miller says, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for fighting for our freedom. First Amendment is under attack like never before. I happen to agree with that. I'm going to like that. Dory comments, it's all talk. We will see, because the Ways and Means Committee just came up with a ridiculous bust on Hunter Biden, and we're going to be talking about him next for sure, and that's going to be very exciting. Anyway, I retweeted this thread. If you guys follow me on Twitter, go over and check it out. It is really catching fire. It has 34,000 likes and a lot of interaction, which I think is fantastic. I want to blow all of this stuff wide open. I want everyone to know about this stuff because this is so bad. It's so bad, but everyone needs to know. We need to vote for people who will actually hold these big tech companies accountable. And at this point, I'm not really holding my breath, but we'll see what happens. Stevie adds helpfully abeyance, a state of temporary disuse or suspension. That's right. Abeyance is just like a pause button for whatever they're discussing. In this instance, it would be a corruption note, or not corruption, but contempt for Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, but we'll see what happens there. All right, you guys, yesterday we talked about Hunter Biden and his law team being caught flat-footed by the judge who thought that they were trying to bury a secret inside the Hunter Biden detail. So let's read about this. This response is good. This makes me really happy. I actually tweeted out that Hunter Biden's team's discomfort yesterday was really keeping me going today. Yeah. It's time for them to take some L's because this stuff is evil corruption, and they are working happily in favor of continuing to make more of it happen. Let's read a little bit from Axios. Rejected plea deal leaves Hunter Biden's team fuming. Oh no, terrible. Oh, it's so bad. Wilmington, Delaware. Hunter Biden's legal team was angry and dejected late Wednesday after a plea deal to help the president's son avoid prison blew up in a chaotic 3-hour court hearing. Why it matters. Why does it matter, Axios? Why don't you tell us? Judge Mariela Noreika's rejection of Biden's plea deal on tax charges ensures that legal issues will continue to shadow Biden just as Republicans on Capitol Hill are turning up the heat and investigating him and his father. That's right. That's right. I'm so excited. Wednesday's hearing also revealed a disconnect between Biden's lawyers and prosecutors over the terms of the plea deal and even subtle divisions among those on Biden's side. That's right. They were not communicating well. Oh man, it's so sweet. I just want to savor it, okay? We don't get very many wins like this very often. I'm so grateful to this judge. My respect for her just went through the roof with this breaking news, and I was so happy. So we're going to zoom in with Axios. I actually really like the way they lay out their articles, even though I disagree with the way they frame stuff half the time. It's great how they lay it out. Hours after the hearing, Biden's team was still fuming, suggesting that Noreika seemed intent on not letting the plea agreement go forward. That's right. After deliberately questioning lawyers on both sides about the terms of the deal. Oh my, how dare she do that? That's her job as a judge. I'm really resisting the urge to use the B words here because I would like to call his lawyers some mean names. But the judge's questioning did reveal a disagreement over whether the agreement on the tax charge was linked to a gun charge against Biden. Prosecutors said it wasn't. Biden's team thought it was, and they repeatedly argued about it in open court. Oh my, how embarrassing. Noreika frustrated those involved in the case when, after 2 hours of questioning, she said she wasn't sure whether the structure of the proposed plea deal was constitutional. Good. I hope she frustrates the living daylights out of these guys. I cannot imagine people who deserve it more. As they say, couldn't happen to nicer people. One member of Biden's team ruefully compared Noreika to Judge Lance Ito, who presided over the O.J. Simpson murder trial in 1995 and who was widely criticized for letting it become chaotic. Yeah, well, you, the member of Biden team criticizing the judge, are part of the reason the case is becoming chaotic. Maybe you shouldn't contribute to that. Just a thought. Others were quick to note that Noreika was appointed to the bench by former President Trump, oh my, and suggested they'd have to take politics into consideration going forward. I think that ship has sailed, honey bunches. As I recall, our dear friend Karine Jean-Pierre was just recently noting that David Weiss was also appointed by Trump, and he was just fine with everything Hunter Biden had done. So they should be fine with this Trump-appointed judge doing whatever she wants to. That checks out. Seems consistent. Asking them for consistency is too much. We know this, but I digress. Zoom out. At times, Biden's team appeared exhausted by the continuing back and forth in court. Oh no, they're very tired by having to do their jobs. Oh my goodness, this is rough. This is so hard. See, if you had communicated better with each other, if you actually understood the terms of the plea deal, and if you talked it over with one another, and if you were honest from the get-go, that would have made this all a whole heck of a lot easier, but here we are. Biden attorney Chris Clark repeatedly mentioned how the investigation of Biden had gone on for 5 years and cited 10-hour-long meetings going line by line over my client's taxes. That's right, bitch. Because this is what you've done. You have created a web of lies around this man for a reason. And now everyone's really effing curious about what's going on here. Because why is there so much spider webbing around this guy? Why is he being so carefully protected by the DOJ? Why is this plea deal being so carefully couched in ways that not even the judge can fully parse? Which is why she basically threw it out. All very good questions. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, just like it was in those Facebook documents. In this case, it's so warm and golden, and I'm so happy to see some of it for a change. Biden himself also partially threw up his hands at one point, frustrated that closure to his case wouldn't be coming. Oh no, not Hunter, who peddled his father's influence and was squired around, as Ben Shapiro says, by his father in Air Force Two, picking up bags of cash from various different countries and texting his own daughter how difficult it was to have to bring in a bunch of money for the family, from which his father, aka Joe Biden, aka the then vice president and now sitting president of the United States of America, demanded of him. That's real tough, Hunter. That's crazy that you put that in text, because that's the most incriminating thing that you could have possibly said. And I'm so glad it's you in the crosshairs, because you are going to make it easy, even for a Democrat. I know you wanted to get this done, she told Biden. I'm sorry, but I need more information. We need to get this right. Well, 100%, of course. The big picture. Even if the charges against Biden are settled in the next month, the Justice Department has indicated its investigation of him is ongoing. You better bet your boots it's ongoing. And House Republicans plan to hold investigations into the investigation as they continue digging into the Biden's family's foreign business dealings. Good. The intrigue. Renowned D.C. lawyer Abby Lowell, who's handling Biden's congressional inquiries, came out of the courtroom audience Wednesday and gradually inserted himself into the hearing, a move likely to raise questions about his taking a larger role in the case. And I'm sure that Judge Mariella Noreika will have a lot of questions about that too, and that'll be a lot of fun when we get there. I cannot wait to watch how this all unfolds. At one point, Lowell went over to Justice Department prosecutors and began introducing himself. Lowell and Clark have been publicly courteous, but have tried to carve out distinct lanes to represent the president's son, as they should. I'm not sure why it's necessary for the man who is handling Biden's congressional inquiries to come and talk about this other inquiry that's ongoing in Delaware. As prosecutors and Biden's team argued during contentious recesses on Wednesday, Lowell conferred with Biden, his other lawyers, and prosecutors. A Fox News reporter in the room reported hearing Lowell say, "I'm involved in the fray now. I was hoping not to be." That's right. Things are getting beyond the Democrats, and it's not looking very good. And it could not be happening to nicer people who deserve it more. One of the things that I've been harping on about the 2024 election is that this election needs to be an indictment of the most criminal president we have ever seen. We need to talk about what happened here, and I want all of the spotlight to be on Joe Biden, and to a lesser degree Hunter. What we're going to get is a dog and pony show like we saw in 2020, and you know who's going to benefit from that? It's not even going to be Donald Trump. It's going to be Joe Biden, who's just going to wilt away into the background just like he did in 2020. He's going to say nothing. He's going to do nothing. He's going to be a potted plant for 8 months, and then we'll have another repeat of 2020. And it doesn't really matter what you think about how the election turned out. All Biden has to do is let the spotlight go to Donald Trump, and from there on, we'll just see what happens. I want Joe Biden brought to justice. I think he deserves to go to jail, if not more than Hunter Biden. I think that they both deserve similar amounts of time, just like they both got similar amounts of money from these various business dealings that Joe Biden said repeatedly that he knew nothing about. And now the White House is saying that Joe was never in business with Hunter. Isn't that interesting? They changed their wording so they could say that they weren't in business together. No one's asking if they were in business together. People are asking if Joe knew about what Hunter was doing. Obviously he did. Okay? Obviously he did. And we literally have texts from Hunter saying it. And Democrats are still trying to pretend like nothing's going on. They're concerned about 2024 with all of this stuff. We'll see what happens. Again, I want justice for the Biden family. And I'm saying that in the nicest possible way. I just want them to have justice, you know? That's all any of us deserve at the end of the day, especially if we're in a position of severe, political influence. Every election can be won in the counting room. Vote so it's too hard for them to do that. Yes. Well, as I keep emphasizing, Donald Trump is a turnout machine. He will turn people out for him. That's true. But he will also turn people out against him. And people are tired. They're tired of Trump. They're exhausted of the conversation. They're probably tired of indictments of their independence. Nobody doesn't have an opinion on Donald Trump at this point in the game. There are no undecided voters. So he's going to turn people out for him, and he's also going to turn people out against him, and that's something that he needs to keep in mind. He needs to be appealing to moderates. He needs to appeal to women. He needs to appeal to true conservatives like me who actually really effing care about the pro-life issues. Like, that is my single issue. And he's not doing that. And in fact, now it's looking like they knew that there was nothing to their 2020 allegations, and they went through with it anyway, and they pushed it on people who were suggestible, and they knew that they were lying, and they don't care. And that should bother all of us if we care about the truth. All right, you guys, let's talk about some silly culture war stuff. This is really annoying to me because there were a lot of women, especially women my age, who were just going out there and saying things like, oh my gosh, the Barbie movie was so cute. It was so good. There was nothing wrong with it, okay? It was really adorable. Moms should be able to take their daughters to this with no concerns because it's really not a big deal, guys. It's just so cute. They even have like the little pink cars and little high heels. Come on, guys. Let's talk about this, okay? Barbie is becoming a new litmus test for dating men. That's interesting. I thought it was just a cute little movie about Barbie and Ken and about how beautiful everything was in a cute pink world with Margot Robbie and Ken, who is Ryan Gosling, wearing a pink jacket with bees all over it. That's crazy. It turns out this isn't actually just a movie about Barbie dolls. Isn't that interesting? It's like the new question on a first date or your dating profile. What are your thoughts on the Barbie movie? Said one TikTok user who posted about her boyfriend's reacting to the film. Her boyfriend's reaction, patently gross. I'd be weirded out if I saw any guy in my life do this. So let's read a little bit. Women around the world are taking their boyfriends to see Barbie in hopes of answering one fundamental question. I don't even know how to pronounce this. Is he Ken enough? As in, is he Ken enough? Across social media, many women have been encouraging one another to use the movie as a litmus test to gauge whether their male dates can understand or at least receptive to its feminist messaging. Yeah, okay. If you have a lady who thinks that she needs to use the Barbie movie to determine whether you're feminist enough, that is the world's biggest red flag. In fact, if you run into one of these women on any dating apps, it's just a sure sign to just ditch and get out. Nicole Hoffler, a 32-year-old woman from Cologne, Germany. She's 32, okay? She's not a child. She's not a teenager. She's older than I am. Said she calls it the Barbie test. It's like the new question on a first date or your dating profile. What are your thoughts on the Barbie movie? Because if a guy really doesn't want to see it, or if he's not open to talking about it, or what's even worse yet, if he's seen it and he thinks it's not a good movie, or he doesn't get the point, I think it's kind of a no-go. Okay, 32-year-old woman who's destined to die alone surrounded by cats. To her pleasant surprise, her boyfriend passed with flying colors. Hoffler, who shared her boyfriend's reaction to the film on TikTok, said she had originally planned to glam it up in a pink dress and enjoy the movie alone because she didn't expect him to be interested in Barbie at all until he asked to join her, digging up a baby pink shirt to match her outfit. Speaking of red flags, if your boyfriend is digging up a pink shirt to join you at the Barbie movie, I have some bad news for you about your boyfriend. She and several other women who spoke with NBC News said watching Barbie felt like seeing their everyday experiences showcased on the big screen. What a bunch of heroes and martyrs. I'm so glad they finally found their voices as women. But Hoffler said that after having heard so many men react to the movie defensively, she felt lucky to have a partner who actively wanted to discuss the impacts of patriarchy afterward. Andy says, that voice is killing me. Please never do that voice again. I'm going to have to practice that on Andy. I just want to point out that these are the quality of the people on TikTok who are commenting on Barbie. We got the blue hair We have the tattoos. We have, unfortunately, self-injury scarring. And the wall of text. Everyone's talking about how their boyfriends didn't get the Barbie movie, but I can't relate. My boyfriend brought me his twin sister tickets, etc., etc. I can't even read that much. It takes way too long. But the blue hair is all the red flag I need, right? Oh my gosh. He just confirmed many things I always knew, like his empathy and how emotionally intelligent he is, she said. I think it's easy for a woman to understand the movie, but I never expected him to get everything at this level. Part of the shock, these women say, comes through the assumption that men who are willing to engage in supportive conversations about feminism are hard to come by. Yes, they are, because feminism is actively anti-male at this point. Period. And I won't go as far as Matt Walsh and say that it's the deadliest force in history or whatever, because it is responsible for abortion and it is responsible for the transdemic, because they were the ones from the beginning saying that men and women are interchangeable and should be able to do the exact same things. And that's exactly what the trans movement has done. They've just carried it to its logical conclusion. That's feminism's fault. Sorry, right from the get-go. Katie Alvarez of Vancouver, British Columbia, posted in a viral TikTok that she can't relate to all the women lamenting their boyfriends didn't understand the movie. She said her boyfriend suggested and planned the whole outing, including finding a Barbie-themed outfit for himself that specifically matched hers. After the movie, she said he listened to and validated the thoughts she shared about navigating the world as a woman. I have a lot of friends who have had boyfriends who were like, that has nothing to do with me, or like, I'm not interested in that, so I don't want to go watch it. A lot of men just see Barbie and are like, no, but I think I'm surprised to have a man who let me have my opinion and not try to put his own spin on it. So do you really think now that she's going to respect her boyfriend going forward? It's kind of a spicy take, and I'm not really the red pill manosphere type commentator, but it seems like I would kind of lose respect for a boyfriend who is willing to put on a pink shirt and pony up to go see the Barbie movie with me. Unless he were like chugging very, very strong liquor in the street seat next to me, I'd be genuinely concerned about his well-being and his ability to provide for our family in the future. But these are feminists, so I'm pretty sure that they don't really care about the future or our families or any of this stuff. Let's see what their conclusion is, because this is a lot of dreck. As a former military service member, she said that being a woman in a male-dominated space took a significant mental and emotional toll. It was part of why many in the movie's themes felt validating to her experience. It was just really moving for me and really made me sad to feel that I'm doing everything that I can to really step into who I am as a woman. And then I'm having to leave my partner behind, not because I want to, but because he just doesn't have the bandwidth to follow me. Oh my gosh. Did anyone watch Barbie and suddenly want to break up with their boyfriend, or was that just me? Holy hell. This is insane. Are you crying? You're just a guy and you'll never understand how difficult it is to be a woman in a man's world. Okay, for reference too, this tweet was referenced in an NBC article and it has 15 likes. Okay? 15 likes. There's this attention to detail that a lot of men don't have. She has less than 1,000 followers. Let me add this so the incels don't waste their breath on me. Don't worry, sweetie. You got 3 likes on this tweet. It's your prerogative to feel whatever way that you do. It's mine to continue to live without knowledge of your miserable, uneducated existence. Read a book, call your mother, and speak to a licensed professional. A licensed professional who's going to do what? Tell you to be more like a woman? No, thanks, sweetie. Yeah. That tweet was particularly galling to me because I was like, no one even cares to engage with your commentary. Sorry. This is the kind of analysis that earns you less than 1,000 followers over the course of however many years you've been on Twitter. Makes sense to me. Checks out. Stuart says, there you go, Andy. Lids will let you drink whiskey if you see Barbie. LL. No, we are a very dry couple. Both of us are. Me especially, obviously, because I'm pregnant. Serenko says, imagine being so emotionally fragile that you get validation from a Barbie movie. This is so fragile and like plastic, literally plastic to me, that I feel bad for women who get a great deal of validation from this, because this isn't where you should be looking for validation when you're 32 freaking years old. You should be finding validation from, I don't know, finding a husband and having kids and building your own household and doing the kinds of things that you hear about in Proverbs 31. And I know not everybody's going to go down that path, but at the end of the day, these are the things that are fulfilling to women. And like it or not, unfortunately, you can argue with it as much as you want, but that doesn't change the fact that it's true. Netscape says, I love Barbie. Yeah, lots of women do. And I got a lot of that too. They're like, I loved it. I played with it when I was growing up. And I said, yes. Yes, but Barbie was a Trojan horse to roll in ridiculous feminist ideology, and I have a serious issue with that. And if you like Barbie, if you played with Barbie when you were little, I would think that you would too, because this is truly insulting. If watching the Barbie movie makes you break up with your boyfriend, you are not an adult. Yes, I think that if watching the Barbie movie makes you break up with your boyfriend, you don't deserve to have a boyfriend, and also you probably shouldn't be engaging with any kind of media at all. Stevie says if he played dress up because his girlfriend asked, I think he just wanted to play dress up anyway. That's what I'm saying. A little sus, right? We have other dumb stuff. So this is great. I love this. I love this clip, and we're going to look at this article also from NBC News because they are truly, truly beyond parody. There is trauma related to being outdoors. The founder of an organization working to provide safe spaces for Black people to enjoy outdoor activities says, there's a lot of healing that we as a Black community must do. I shared this with some of my friends who are of the African American persuasion, and they thought it was hilarious, horrifying, and embarrassing. So let's read this article. Why can Black people currently not enjoy being in the great outdoors? I have no idea. Let's read. Let's get enlightened with NBC, and then we'll wrap it. Meet the Black outdoorsy groups reclaiming the joys of nature. That's right, the joys of nature are divided along very racialized lines. Not everyone can just step outside and listen to birds and see butterflies and hear the wind whistling in the trees or experience the joy of the beach, the loveliness of nature trails. I feel so bad for these people because I love that stuff, and I feel like everybody should be able to engage with it because, oh wait, they can unless they live in a permanent world of constant victimization where they are constantly forcing themselves to view the world through the lens of postmodernism, Marxism, and other such shenanigans. Black culture boasts a rich history with nature, and Black people across the country are enjoying the outdoors by forming their own communities of nature enthusiasts. Okay, that's fine. The other thing, too, it's fine to enjoy nature with people who share your opinions and your beliefs. I think that's great. If I wanted to find a gang of conservative ladies to hang out with, I'd probably have to join some play dates because all of them have children at this point. Everybody I'm inclined to follow along in the trail with has a bunch of kids by this point in time. Most of them got started earlier in life than I did, which is good for them. And that's fine. I have no issue with that. But I don't think that you should probably write an article in NBC about how oppressed you are and how hard it is for you to make these friendships and to build these groups. But let's read. Even America's national parks were off limits to Black travelers during the Jim Crow era. That was a really long time ago. We aren't in the Jim Crow era anymore, although some leftist universities are going back to segregating their graduation ceremonies. Not right-wingers. Generations later, many Black outdoors enthusiasts say they find spending time in nature restorative and freeing. Yes, everyone does, who is not fixated on the idea of being a victim. Oh boy, here we go. I couldn't help but feel anxious as I drove deeper into rural northern Texas. Seek help. The familiar coffee shops and apartment buildings of downtown Dallas faded into swaths of land with cattle and single-family homes surrounded by greenery in Allen. I would be spending the weekend in native Blackland Prairie grassland for Texas Survival School's Basic Wilderness Survival class. Cool, that sounds fun. I wonder what could possibly ruin this occurrence. My friends and family had mixed reactions when I told them I'd be with a bunch of strangers camping and learning to build a fire, navigate land, deliver wilderness first aid, learn water safety, and more. Okay, so you were going to have a great time, and then you had to tell people, and they're going to ruin it for you. So, good choice of friends there. Some of them thought it was cool and exciting. Others delivered a familiar axiom. That's white people stuff. So, who exactly is telling you, again, just to recap from 1 second ago, who is telling you that this stuff is, quote, white people stuff? Is it white people saying this? No, it's not white people saying this. This is your Black friends and family. So I wasn't surprised that most of the 24 participants, a mix of adults and children, were white. I was one of 4 Black people in the class, so 4 out of 24. I don't know exactly what percentage that is, but sounds about right. I was the only Black woman, and I caught curious glances from some of the other participants as I piled my box braids on top of my head to keep the bugs out of my hair. Are you sure they were curious? Are you sure? Are you sure people were really paying that much attention to you? Because this is something I've noticed too. And I was talking to Andy about this the other day. It was something very freeing to realize that no one's thinking about you. When you go out in public, if you're shy, it helps to shake it off by thinking, hey, you know what? No one out here is actually thinking about me at all. They're probably barely looking at me at all. They don't care what I do. They're thinking about themselves in much the same way that I'm thinking about myself. But when you keep yourself in permanent victim mode, like it sounds like this woman is doing, the slightest glance in your direction can be a victimizing stare, because they're probably casting quizzical glances on you for the fact that you have hair that you put on top of your head, because I totally didn't try to do that at the pool earlier today. I'm not a black woman. Nobody gave me a curious glance, because the people who were there were talking about their own thing. They were doing their own thing. They're young people doing young people stuff. They were swearing a lot. They were talking about, I don't know, however they were born or whatever their last names were or whatever. New friends, whatever. It was great. This is tiring, okay? My response to this was, I mentioned the other day that I'm sick of this crap, and I am. And I said that henceforth, you're just going to get a GIF that says, oh, shut up, when you post this kind of thing, because please, let's see what her conclusion is, because we're running out of time, because this is so annoying. Look, she hiked all the way up Gray's Peak. That's awesome. Look at that. Good for her. You know what the first thing I look at when I look at a picture like this on top of a ridiculous summit is, as a white person, as an apparently internalized racist white supremacist, the first thing I look at when I see a picture like this is not the skin color of the participants. It's the fact that they climbed a super tall mountain, and holy cow, good for them. They must be tired and feel a little sick, because altitude like that is crazy, and I have huge respect for them. Yeah, not so much caring about their skin color, but I am uneducated. What can I say? I finished the wilderness course with a few small leaves in my box braids, a scent of bug spray on all my belongings, and most important, a wealth of new knowledge and skills. So it sounds like it was a great success. Terrible. As I drove away from the grassland and into Dallas' city center, I longed to share this knowledge and experience with other black women. Like Newton, Ajaya, and Rivers, I learned that if I found so much joy and fulfillment in the outdoors, surely this experience was meant for me and those who look like me. It's for everyone. You R-word. It's for everyone. And you should know this, because when you go outside, no one cares. Nothing cares about your skin color. The only difference it's going to make is how much you're going to sunburn in the sun. And the only difference it's going to make is how fast you can run. Some people are faster at running than others. All of nature is out to kill you at the end of the day. It's very equalizing. It's great. Perhaps it's time for a new axiom about the great outdoors. It's black people stuff. How about it's people stuff, okay? Because nature is people stuff, and everyone already can enjoy it. I bet you a nickel that Ben Shapiro enjoys a little outdoor stuff too, and he's Jewish. I bet you that Asian people enjoy outdoor stuff. I personally have seen Lauren Chen and her husband doing outdoorsy stuff too. That's crazy. It's almost like the outdoors is for everyone, and you only have an issue with it, and you only think that it's against black people because of what's in your own head, because of what people from your own circle were telling you. It's white people stuff. White people aren't telling you that stuff. Your circle is. That's from you. Sorry. All right, you guys, thanks so much for joining. We're pushing right up on 8 p.m. Go enjoy Timcast IRL as is your want, I am sure. We'll talk about some of the rest of this stuff tomorrow. We have some really good stuff in here. It's going to be a fun time. All right, until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay out of Target. Bye, guys.
How's it going?